Hey guys, what is up? We're now here. It's the NBA playoffs. I wouldn't have thought we were gonna go up against the Knicks. I thought it was gonna be the Bucks or the Celtics. But we're here. I'm here with my guy Luca from Big Blue in the Bronx. How you doing, my guy?
Doing good, doing good. Knicks. I'm a fan of the Knicks. This is the third time in the last 4 years we've made the playoffs. A lot of culture growing, a lot of that stuff. This organization finally looks competent. There's a finally light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, we have our superstar. You guys got your superstar, but we have our superstar in Jalen Brunson. Just so much excitement around the Knicks fan base. There's a lot of hype heading into this series, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I can't either, man. But really quick, I have to give a shout out to our guy Jeffrey Turner. Rest in peace,
Absolutely,
Jeffrey
rest in peace
Turner.
to
If it
him.
wasn't for him, I would not have known about you, your brother, your channel. So shout out to him, man. Rest in peace. I miss
Awesome,
that man.
awesome human
Miss him.
being he was.
He was a great guy, especially for a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the clip you guys put on Twitter with him popping into your Knicks podcast, and
Yeah,
it's
it
like
was. I think it was our college show. It might have been or something like that. Where obviously, I think Alex's pin twin, Big Blue in the Bronx on Twitter, where Jeffrey popped into our college show. And we just started talking basketball and all that. But fun human being he was. I won't forget him.
yeah, man, yeah. Prayers up. I mean, rest in peace to Jeff. Shout out to his best friend. Shout out to everybody, man. Coach is in the chat.
What's up,
Spongy,
Coach?
what is up, everybody? And what is up, Barbara? What is up? Thank you for stopping by. So, without further ado, let's get it started, man. How are you feeling about going up against the Sixers? How are you feeling? Nervous?
I'm actually not too nervous. I have a lot of rejuvenated confidence in this Knicks team because obviously you don't. Here's the biggest question is I think with between both teams, how healthy is Joel Embiid? He was coming off a knee injury. He left the game due to an injury, came back, and I think the Knicks have some weaknesses to expose on his game. But I think it's Pompey. I think it's Daryl Pompey or something like that. The reporter for the Sixers, he's like Embiid's like 80% healthy, so I think the Knicks can expose that in their pick and roll and when they run their pick and rolls. But this series is exciting to me because you have two of the three major pieces back on this team that were once hurt. OG Anunoby is going to be key in this series, and so is Mitchell Robinson off the bench. Now Julius Randle, we don't have; he's out for the season with shoulder surgery, so that's unfortunate. Obviously, get well, Jules. We hope to see you back next year. But I was kind of like mixed a little bit, and I'd say in the months of February and March, where this team was so depleted, so beaten down, they were eking out wins just barely. Like Jalen Brunson, obviously, most fans really don't see it from the Knicks fans' point of view. Like this guy's a top five MVP candidate, where some fans are just not looking at that. They don't want to admit that Jalen Brunson, is this MVP that the Knicks actually got it right for once. All the analysts as well. And they were just trudging along. You have guys like Josh Hart and Donnie DiVincenzo playing 40 minutes a game in the months of February and March. Same thing for Deuce McBride. So you have a bunch. You have a bunch of winners on the team. You're led by a coach who's a winner and who holds guys accountable, puts up the winning standard in Tom Thibodeau. And another concern of ours that once had me pessimistic about this team a little bit was the bench. Josh Hart's no longer going to be on the bench. He's obviously going to be the starting lineup. Like what does there's another question which we'll get into. What will the non-Brunson minutes look like? Who's going to do the playmaking? We don't really have a backup point guard. Technically, that would be Deuce McBride, but I don't think McBride's more of. I think McBride's a tweener. He's more of a point guard and a shooting guard. I think the weakest, part of his game is probably facilitating. He's improved offensively with scoring all around. He's a pest defensively. So you have that. You also traded for Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic just turned it on late. He actually had a really rough start, but our buddy Noah from Knicks Realist, he made a good point. He's like, Boyan's adjusting to a lower volume. He's not getting money. He's not getting as many shots as he would. So I think the Knicks bench has been better. I think the whole team has been better, and I think they just got hot at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want you guys to begin with. I wanted the Celtics because I
Right,
wanted that revenge right away, just knock them out, get there. The last time we played you guys, I mean, back to back, 79 points,
right.
back to back. Like, that doesn't happen in this NBA. Your defense is lethal. And with our MVP, Joel Embiid, acting like, he can't run and everything, more load on Maxi, more load on Tobias, which I can't stand. People know that. Yeah, it's just like it's crazy with your defenses looking like. So that honestly scares me. It's the best defense in the league. Not a lot of people are talking about your defense a lot.
Absolutely. The addition of OG Anunoby only supplements that. And I know some fans were obviously emotional trading away RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly in late December. But Anunoby, the Knicks are 20-3 with him, you know, in 2024.
Yeah.
This dude has like a 30 plus net rating when he's on the floor. It's just
Mhm.
he gives so much offensively, he gives so much defensively. Anunoby's not like, oh, he's not a superstar or whatever. I think he is the best elite. I think he's an elite wing defender in the NBA, probably one of the best. I mean, he can guard positions 1 through 5. You look at his size, look at his length. He can match up with almost anybody. He can. I'm not going to say he's going to completely shut down a player, but you saw what he did on Giannis. He held Giannis to 3 for 9 against the Bucks. It was a critical game. So, here's another stat. I think he's like plus 300 on the floor when he's on the floor with the Knicks. It's incredible that this guy has done, and you didn't see a lot of that in Toronto. So it's Tibbs, Tibbs, the mad scientist, making this all work. Also, addition to the defense, you have Josh Hart who plays defense, Donnie DiVincenzo, great at off ball, can get deflections and get steals. Same thing with Anunoby. He is a master of steals and deflections. And Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson are also going to play a big factor with the Knicks defense in this series.
Yeah, especially getting physical with Joel Embiid right out from the gate. I mean, I was just talking to a good friend of mine. He's a diehard Knicks fan, and he goes, "We're gonna throw everything at Joel Embiid. Like we have 18 fouls to use on Joel Embiid. You got to use it right from the get go. If it was not
Absolutely.
for Embiid being there, we'll have a different conversation."
Absolutely. And again, the Knicks can expose Embiid, whether defensively or offensively. Offensively, you could run the pick and roll a lot. The Knicks run that a lot. Obviously, that's a main staple of their offense. And I think, the Sixers are going to be playing Embiid in drop coverage, or at least Embiid's going to drop too far where he's going to allow Jalen Brunson to take those mid range jumpers. So that's something that, if I was a Sixers fan, I'd be worrying about. So you have that. Offensively, I think, Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson are both able to contain him. Maybe you throw some doubles at him. The Knicks are very good with rotation, so they could throw a double and then rotate back so you don't allow one pass away.
Yeah, of course. And shout out to our guy, Coach Ed, who actually has a question for me. Mitch, who will guard OG when the Knicks are on offense? So for me, honestly, well, we don't have D'Anthony Mountain. He is out. We don't have Covington. He is out. So honestly, I hate to say this, but probably Kelly Oubre. You might
Mm,
have to put Kelly Oubre on OG Anunoby. You might have to put even Tobias Harris a little bit, which I can't stand. It's just a little rotation here and there. So for me, I think it will be Kelly Oubre. So that is for me.
that's right. I did read today that Melton's going to be out. He's still recovering. What is it, from a shoulder or back injury?
Back. So
Okay.
what happened was this medical team is so bad, it's so unreliable. We haven't
Really?
heard what happened to Covington in months. So
Oh, that's true. Robert Covington. I forgot he was a part of the team.
right, a part of that trade, James Harden trade. Shout out to NYG. Thank you for that. But yeah, man, it's just like with that and dude, it's just crazy how this medical team has been. I mean, Melton played the last what was it, the second to last game he played, then the last game he was out, and then now he's out for this game. So I'm like, what is it? Is he good? Is he not? I
Right.
want to know. I love D'Anthony Melton. He's one of my favorite players on this team. So you guys are missing out there. You guys are
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah, he's a very good 3-and-D wing. I think he's more like he's got shooting guard size. I don't know how tall he is, but he's more of that, 3-and-D kind of wing. So much more of a shooting guard than a small forward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with Melton and then you have Maxi there. Melton helps Maxi with the defense, exactly what we
Yes,
need. We got height. Now we got Kyle Lowry, who's good on the defensive side for his age, next to Maxi. So for
that's
me,
true.
I'm a little bit nervous on the defensive side a little bit. You might have to throw in Kelly Oubre a little bit more and all this
Right.
stuff. So for me, it's just like it is what it is. Gotta lay your bed and gotta lie in it. So let me ask you this. What's
Okay.
your starting five looking like for the playoffs?
For the Knicks, it's going to be Brunson at the 1, Dante at the 2, Josh Hart at the 3, OG Anunoby at the 4, and likely Isaiah Hartenstein at the 5. So I think that's a pretty good lineup. Maybe you'll see some lineups where they throw in Deuce McBride with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo. Because Deuce, to me, in my honest opinion, if I'm putting somebody on Tyrese Maxey, it's Deuce McBride, not OG Anunoby, not Jalen Brunson, not Dante, whoever. I think Deuce McBride's a lockdown defender, and I think he really could keep Maxey in contain.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And actually, I was telling my buddy this earlier. Deuce McBride is one of my favorite players on the Knicks. Like, I love his game. I love how he can catch on fire, especially from the corner. I think he averaged like what 40% from three this year, around there.
Let's double check that. I think you're close on that, Mitch. Let's see. Miles McBride. It's incredible. Again, I love his story too. McBride shot 41% from three this year, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I just love McBride's story because he was drafted in the second round by the Knicks in 2021. I thought he was going to go like at the end of the first round personally because he was coming out of West Virginia. Showed some explosiveness, showed some 3-point ability, mainly known for his defense. He spent some time in the G League. He showed some flashes throughout the first 2 seasons, not really anything consistent offensively, but the defense was there. So you're wondering, okay, do we just get a defensive stopper? We get a guy who can contribute offensively. And now you learned through the OG Anunoby trade with more minutes for Deuce McBride and even more minutes for Deuce, with Alec Burks, being on the bench. Deuce, his offensive game has grown. He's got a filthy mid-range pull-up jumper off the pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So, from three, as you said, from the corners, he could hit as well. So Deuce McBride is, I think, almost like an X factor for this team.
Oh, yeah, yeah. For me, I'm calling this right now. Deuce McBride's going to have at least a 125-point game. I'm calling it right now. Oh, my God, yeah. Dude, if he catches on fire and Nick Nurse can't adjust to that, it's over. Like, I'm telling you, it's over. And I love Nick Nurse. He's a better coach than what we had last year with Glenn Rivers. Of
course.
So,
Doc Rivers is terrible.
We're going to talk about the coaching in a little bit. So, you did bring up X factors and Miles McBride, and Deuce McBride. Who do you think the X factor is for the Sixers?
That's a good question. I mean, I just saw a game where Nick Batum went off crazy. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna try to think like of the roster. Your obviously starting lineup is going to be Embiid, Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre. It would be Maxey and Kyle Lowry. That's your starting
Lowry, your starting point guard. Yeah,
I think it might be Lowry for some reason because there was this one play that was going viral on Twitter. It was from the Sixers Heat game where this guy was the guy's made his money. That guy's a champion. That guy's an all-star multiple times. Dude was hustling nonstop. How old is he? 35 years old? Like he was going from rotation to rotation, guarding multiple guys, gets hit by a screen on Bam, causes deflection on the shot. That dude is hustle, man. I got to give him credit. Like when he was on the buyout market, I was like, you know what? The Knicks should get him. Honestly, he's not going to get a ton of minutes. He could be a mentor to Deuce of some sorts in the playmaking aspect. And Lowry is that playmaker. Deuce could be an off-ball player. So I think it's Lowry a little bit. And Lowry has a ton of experience in the playoffs. He also has experience with his coach, Nick Nurse, also in Toronto.
Yep. So for me, honestly, Joel Embiid. It's the health factor of Joel Embiid. If he's playing, he's able to go, look out. If he's like the last game against Miami, we got a little bit of an issue here. That last game, it was rough. He did drop 11 points in the fourth quarter. He did help us to get that dub. But it's just like for the whole game.
It was probably the efficiency aspect. It's probably the efficiency aspect as well. He probably shot a lot of shots.
Yeah, he was like 2 for 8 from the half. And then just like caught fire in the fourth. So for me, it's Joel Embiid and actually a little bit of Tobias Harris as well. If he can step up, if Tobias Harris can go like 20 to 22 points, not missing layups, just do his job, grab boards, and do whatever he needs to do and win, perfect. I don't trust him being consistent. He's not the most consistent guy out there. One time he'll go 27, 6, and 7. The next game, 2, 2, and 2. Yeah. So I'm like, which one is this? And now there's a rumor that Detroit Pistons might get him, which I'm like, yeah.
That would be such a weird signing for the Pistons because they're in torment right now. They're probably, again, the worst team in the NBA, all that. And obviously, Harris actually has history with Detroit. He played there early on in his career. But Harris, I think, he receives a lot of hate from like Sixers fans, and I think it's rightfully so. I think he's like one of the most maddening players I've ever seen, or I've at least watched. He's like that all-star fringe player that's like not living up to all-star fringe. It's like he's almost like mediocre to an aspect or inconsistent.
Yeah. But if you remember, like a Jeremy Grant and Blake Griffin, they
Right.
upped their stock. So maybe they can do that with Tobias, which I highly doubt. Honestly, I highly doubt that. He's not like Jeremy Grant or Blake Griffin, who just retired. Congrats on his career.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'm
Great
just
career.
saying, like, if he steps up, that'll be good. And actually, Coach brought up a good one as well in Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre is also could be a X factor as well. He's actually the third best player on the team. Joel Embiid actually said that after a game. How Oubre is the third best player on this team, so that'll add more pressure for Tobias Harris as well. So
Mm,
for me, just like, dude, I love it. I can't wait for this game. It's all exciting. But let's talk about the fans' perspective here.
okay.
How, especially both sides of the team, like both teams, right? Going to Madison Square Garden, Philly travel, coming to Madison Square Garden, Wells Fargo. You guys will come here. My God, this is going to be electric.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely gonna be electric. I mean, as I told you in the pre-show, I'm going to the Garden game too. It's gonna be a lot of fun. My first ever Knicks playoff game. But the Garden's gonna be electric. Wells Fargo's gonna be electric. Two playoff teams. These teams. And fun fact, Coach Ed dropped it in the chat. These teams haven't played in the playoffs since the late '80s. You got to go back to Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley. The Knicks ended up actually winning the series 3-0 in a sweep. But it's gonna be two electric atmospheres, two big fan bases, two of the big like these cities have kind of bad blood if you think about it. Obviously, the Phillies and Mets are rivals. The Giants and Eagles are rivals. The Knicks and Sixers play in the same division, and I would consider them rivals. So there could be heat with this. This will build up a little bit of rivalry here, but especially between the two fan bases who are absolutely so passionate.
Oh my God, yeah. And actually, someone brought this up in the chat. I think it was Richie, Jay Wright. Can you imagine Jay Wright right now in this playoff series?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Jay Wright being the former Villanova coach, and now he's got three of his Villanova guys, Dante and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, playing for the Knicks. So he's like between rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and I told this to Coach many, many times. You guys are going to get Mikal Bridges at some
You,
point,
you think
somewhere.
so?
Yes, some point somewhere, because I know Leon. He used to live here. I graduated with high school with his daughter, so I was
Mm.
very close. So they're close to everyone in that Villanova. They're very close. So I
Oh, I'm
really
sure they
think
are.
you're going to get Mikal Bridges at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Mikal Bridges has been rumored so many times. It depends whether the Nets want to build around him or just completely retool and rebuild. But it's to me like I actually kind of don't want to. I don't want to ruin the dynamic of this team because Ananobi, like you watch that month of January of basketball with Randall and Hartenstein and Ananobi and Brunson and Devo. That team was putting up like elite numbers. That team probably the Knicks that month had the best month spanning decades upon decades. So again, you look at like the offensive rating, the defensive rating, the plus minus of OG, what he brought. It's just like what a month that was. What a
Yeah,
month that was.
yeah. But if you look at Mikal Bridges now, it's looking more of like a Cam Thomas team over there. I mean, he's
It's
the guy
true.
who's putting up points. Mikal Bridges is doing all the dirty work. He's there for another 3 years, so it's going to be later on in his career that I can see you guys grab him.
And the Nets did trade, Kevin Durant for him. So they're like, okay, you need to be the next building piece. But when I was talking about, the run in January, like Randall, like we're gonna have Boyan Bogdanovic for another year. The Knicks team, as currently built, as long as they re-sign Hartenstein and OG Anunoby, is very much a deep like I'm not gonna say all the way a finals contender, but a deep playoff contender this year and next year with a healthy Randall. So that's why I think the Knicks, should stay put with keeping OG Anunoby and not going out there for Mikal Bridges, personally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, credit to Leon Rose here. I actually told this to coach as well. He's my executive of the year. Just for all the moves he's making this offseason. You can argue like the Celtics, you can argue some other teams, but it's Leon Rose in my book.
I think he absolutely deserves credit, and I think he deserves some votes for the executive of the year. You look at the OG Anunoby trade, it was frowned upon by some fans. They didn't want to let go of RJ and Emmanuel quickly. That's fine. I was more a little down on the Emmanuel quickly aspect, but RJ basically almost had no trade value at that point. But OG Anunoby just comes alive. You look at the advanced metrics, as I said, the plus minus is above 200, 300 when he's on the floor. You have, the net rating with the net with him when he's on the floor with the Knicks, any lineup, it's like a 33 plus net rating. You look at that, those stats where you weren't seeing in Toronto. So again, as long as you re-sign him, it's going to be a good move. Here's another move. You obviously have the Detroit trade, trading away Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, and Malachi Flynn to the Pistons for Bogdanovich and Burks. Now the Burks side hasn't worked; he's out of the rotation. Obviously, Sixers fans do know about Burks, but Bogdanovich is starting to catch fire, and he's a seasoned veteran. He's been to the playoffs multiple times with the Pacers, the Jazz, the Nets. So I expect him to have a nice postseason personally.
Yeah.
So that's another factor. Another factor of why he could be, executive of the year, at least there's an argument. Dante DiVincenzo, man. 11, $12 million a year. He's broken the franchise record for 3-pointers made in the season and 3-pointers made in a single game. I don't think he's loved so much by the fans, loved so much. And it's not just he's a 3-point shooter. He's a good defender and he's a good cutter as well. So he fits in well.
Yeah. I mean, all the moves you guys made just to get to this level, it's insane. It's really crazy how well Leon Rose is doing, and people were questioning him as soon as he started.
Yeah,
So I love
of
this.
course. Of course, like they question, why is the player agent becoming a general manager, president of basketball operations? But he's brought in his guys and he's made his fair share of hits, and he's a huge part of why this team where this team is at now. Like, give him credit, give him credit for hiring Tom Thibodeau, give him credit.
Yeah, yeah. And then now with the Jalen Brunson in his contract, people thought he was overpaid. I was one of those people when Jalen Brunson got that contract. I thought he was overpaid in the beginning, but now he made me shut my mouth.
Exactly. And listen, there's some people who don't even want to be wrong about that. Obviously, Jalen Brunson is still being, disrespected by NBA analysts, but Brunson's been phenomenal. Like Brunson is like I could see why a lot of older people, like I'd say 30, 40 years old, not just seeing the Mellow years, but also the Ewing years, they're like, okay, this guy is the last superstar we've seen in New York since Patrick Ewing, not even Carmelo Anthony. So you could understand that to a point. Now, again, Brunson has a chance to take us past the second round. We'll see what happens, but he's been nothing short of phenomenal, man. He's taken the New York mindset. Again, there's New York's a big market, and there's not a lot of players, who choose to take on the big market and say, you know what, I'm gonna play here. I'm gonna be mentally tough. The fans are gonna love me for the way I play. And every I don't know one Knick fan who dislikes Jalen Brunson. Everybody loves him. Even if you just read his Players Tribune the other day, his article in the Player Tribune,
Yep.
he's like, I see you Saturday. It was just phenomenal to read. Like, if you're not behind Jalen Brunson as a Knicks fan, I don't know what you're doing.
I mean, I'm behind him, and I'm a Philadelphia fan, so I'm guessing you're listening to his podcast with him and Josh Hart.
Yeah, here and there, I know Tracy Morgan was just on it. He basically gave like a kind of rah-rah locker room speech towards them. But you know what? I Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, I just love both of them because Josh Hart also is like a he's the epitome of what a New York athlete brings, just toughness and grind and grit. So
Yeah, and Coach has a question for you. Luca, I saw a video where a content creator said he thinks New York would sign Hartenstein for 4 years, 72 mil.
that's $18 million a year. Well, the question is, do the Knicks have the cap space? I'm sure they would make some, but I'm not sure if I would go 18 million. But you could, if you want to go 15, 16 million dollars, again, you brought up our stream coach. Do the Knicks want to pay two centers $15 million a year? But Hardenstein's not worth that valuable, in my opinion. He's only getting paid $8 million a year, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's definitely underrated. I love watching Hartenstein play. His physicality, his way to get to the rim. I love watching him play. I really do. And
Yeah.
thank you for the score update, Chris, for the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls. And wow, the Bulls were getting killed earlier. Now they're only up by 1. Dang, that's what happens when you don't have Jimmy Butler. So let's talk about the matchup between Maxey and Brunson. How do you feel about
Yes.
that?
Maxey, I think, is going to turn it on playoff time. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. He was phenomenal last year. But it depends on, like, again, to me, it's like I almost believe, and this is not bias, is just watching all over the watching all the games. It's like almost like Jalen Brunson's unguardable. You watch that game against Milwaukee, they threw multiple defenders at him. They threw double teams. They threw Jay Crowder at him. They threw Damian Lillard's not a good defender. They threw Middleton at him. They threw Beasley at him. They threw Giannis at him. Nobody could guard this man. It's unbelievable. It's like the guy, he doesn't have elite speed. He's not going to get to the basket and throw it down. The dude has quickness. He has footwork. That's what it all, just to get defenders up in the air, draw the contact, and do all that stuff. Unbelievable. He's been phenomenal. Tyrese Maxey too. He's obviously a candidate for most improved player of the year. He's a sniper. And he reminds me of his former teammate Emmanuel Quickly, just a better version. But
Yeah.
a good, nice find from the 76ers in that 2020 draft. But I think he's going to turn it on. As long as and I also think a little bit as well, I think he also needs Embiid to have it work out a little bit. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Maxey with Embiid being hurt. So at the end of the day, I think they have to kind of feed off of each other.
Oh my God, yeah. And just how the growth of Tyrese Maxey being able to close out games has been huge from starting to the end, because Joel Embiid has never been that guy. He
Right.
hasn't been that guy to step up every now and then. It was mostly Jimmy Butler for that 1 year. Then he
Yeah,
left. Then it
2018.
was James Harden for a little bit. Then that whole thing. Don't even get me started on the other guy. But then it was just like going on and on. But Maxey's learning to become that guy, which is a huge step in his progression. Like, you
Right,
got to give Maxey
absolutely.
that credit here. And here's something I was learning about from the Knicks film room. I don't know if you heard of him, their content or whatever,
Knicks
but
Films? Are you talking about Knicks Film School?
yeah, it's a film.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's film
yeah,
school. My
yeah.
bad. Yeah,
They got some really good content over there. Yes, I have heard of them.
yeah. So they were talking about the pick and roll and
Yeah,
how that pick and roll for you guys could be lethal with Joel Embiid banging up like this, and especially with Maxey if he doesn't go high on it or low.
right.
So that pick and roll is deadly.
Especially, like, let's just say, Hardstein set some nice screens. You have Brunson I Hard in the pick and roll, the roll man, and obviously the guy, the ball handler. You have, let's just say, Maxi gets screened out. How far up is Embiid going to play to prevent that mid range shot? And he had, like, as the job as the defender of the roll man, the defender of the pick and roll is the low defender is the center. Like, you got to keep an eye on both the ball handler and the roll man. Both are effective. Hardstein, you saw him burn. If you watch the Bucks game, he burned the Bucks in drop coverage every single time. He had a floater, went to the foul line, left the floater. It was good almost every time. Jalen Brunson can settle into that mid range. That's a big part of his game, 3-level score. So it's going to be tough for the Sixers, especially without a mostly healthy Embiid to combat the pick and roll coverage. Like, are they going to double the pick and roll? Do they prefer to hedge? And I don't think they're going to do that because, again, Embiid needs to be mobile. He needs to be healthy for that. And I don't think he'll be 100%.
Yeah. I mean, Embiid's got it. If I had to give a percentage on Embiid's health right now, it's got to be like an 80. I
Yeah,
guess
that's what Daryl Pompey said on. I think he's like I don't. He's a key reporter for them, but he said 80% is like the best estimate.
Yeah. I mean, Embiid was just not looking like himself at all. It just was terrible. So you guys are definitely going to attack that
Right.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Is there a guy on the Sixers, like on the bench, that you're kind of like, ooh, that guy could go off?
I'm gonna
And
look up.
actually,
I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look up.
He's actually a Jets fan.
Yeah, I'm actually a Jets fan. I do have views of overall the NFL, but let me see if there's a guy that I really fear. I mean, could that guy be a Batum? Like Batum, you said Batum's in your starting lineup, right? So
He's going to be in the starting line.
me,
It rotates. It rotates.
maybe a Buddy Heald, maybe. I
Oh,
mean, this is actually his first playoffs. He's played with the Pacers. He's played with the Pelicans. He's played with the Kings. No playoffs. This can be a first playoff. So I don't know. Maybe he rises to the occasion. Who knows? But he might be. He might come out of the woodworks. Nobody would know.
right. So in the beginning, when we got him at the trade deadline, he averaged like 20 points per game. He actually averaged 6 assists per game, and he was shooting like
Really?
40% from the field. But
Wow.
then he's just like going up and down, up and down. And then towards the end of the season, he's just like kaplunk. Like, no one knows what's going on with him at all. But now for the playoffs, he's got to go off. He needs to find his
Absolutely.
shot, just keep shooting. He has the green light, and that's it.
Absolutely. Again, Healed needs to catch fire like everybody else. So obviously need as much help as around Tyrese Maxey as possible. You do not want the Knicks to employ a strategy where they just want Tyrese Maxey to score only.
No. And actually, could that be a sign of the rest of the series? It could be. It definitely well could be with Buddy Healed there. And then for the bench, if they play Cameron Payne.
Right.
Now, Cameron Payne, he's a streaky shooter. If he starts, he keeps going and going and going. I love his game. He was definitely a huge benefit after getting rid of Patrick Beverly in that trade. I
Right.
mean, Cameron Payne just adds the spacing. I think he's shooting like 35% from three, give or take around there. But that shooting off the bench is huge. If he can get hot, same with Buddy
Absolutely.
Hield, that's dirty.
Yeah, Payne's been around. He's been around quite a lot. He actually shot 39% from three this year. But he's been around quite a lot. He's been with the Bucks, he's been with the Suns, now he's with the Sixers, so he has that playoff experience in him, so he knows what's to play like under the big lights.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Cameron Payne, just that bench. This is the best bench that Joel Embiid has had in his era, which is
Really.
actually kind of shocking. Like,
Mm.
they could never build around this man. It's crazy.
I remember when you guys had Andre Drummond in us. So I don't think Seth Curry was starting, but Drummond off the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this could be your best bench, honestly.
It definitely could. It definitely could. And now with Paul Reed being the backup, he's definitely the best backup that Joel Embiid has had because he can get he hustles for the boards. He does everything he does he can average like a 10 and 10 if he chose to, but he gets into foul trouble so early. You got to play him, put him back. You got to
Can he
be like,
shoot?
okay, 3 fouls in 2 minutes, you're out.
Yeah, can he shoot from the perimeter though? Because I know he was seen as more of a stretch four coming out of college.
Yeah. So what happened is with the shooting, Doc Rivers would never let him shoot the three. So
Uh,
As soon as Paul Reed shot the three, he went to the bench. Nick Nurse is giving him the green light. So
Absolutely.
he can knock down the three if he's wide open. I think he was averaging 40% from three for the last part of the season. So it's
Mm.
like, hey, if my guy can shoot the three next to Embiid, perfect. Perfect. Mitch is mentioning all these Philly players. Are they going to play 11 guys? No, I don't think they're going to play 11 guys. I think the rotation will be like 8 or 9. How about the Knicks? Would that be like 8 or 9?
I think it's gonna. I personally also I forgot to mention another key player off the bench, Precious Achua, who we got
Yeah,
in the OG Anunoby trade. I think you're looking at 8 or 9 guys. Honestly, again, Achua might be a defensive body for rebounding. He doesn't do much offensively. Maybe he could hit a corner three once in a while, but it's not like I'm going to rely on so much. But I'd say 8 or 9 guys. There's no 10th man rotation. Tibbs usually does run the 10 man rotations, but I don't think he has enough to run 10 man.
right. And now with Nick Nurse, he would definitely narrow it down to like 8 or 9 or 10, maybe
Right.
10, but he is creative with his
Of course.
rotation. So you never know what he's going to throw at you because with Doc Rivers, there was no adjustments at all. So with
Of
Nick
course.
Nurse, you could see him make adjustments at half. That was his biggest adjustment against the Heat. He pulled Tobias Harris out. He put Nicholas Batum in. He scored 6 threes, and we win the game.
Absolutely. Again, the biggest thing with Doc Rivers was that, he doesn't make the adjustments. He asks the players to make adjustments. So
Yeah.
that's that. Again, I don't know why Doc's in this league, but that's not the point. I do think Nick Nurse was an upgrade for y'all. Like I was watching videos on, just how the Sixers ran their offense with Embiid, like early on in the season. There was a stark comparison because Doc basically ran Embiid in ISOs last year. That's more wear and tear on his knees. That doesn't
Yeah.
do good for him. As much as he can win on those one-on-ones, that's wear and tear for his knees. And they played a slower pace and all of that. With the Nick Nurse offense, it's a little more two-man game. So Embiid's a little more active. He can move off the ball like that. It's more free flowing, and that's what he is creative. I'll give him that. He does play guys a lot of minutes, but he's very creative. I'll give him that.
Yeah, especially with like his rotations and schemes. People have him as like the player of the series. You gotta watch out for. I mean, we never had this good of a coach with Joel Embiid. We never
No.
did. We had like a Brett Brown. We had a Doc Rivers. It was never that good. So Kind of nice for Embiid. Really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is like it's almost like their best chance to win.
Yeah. I mean, this if we don't win here against you guys, good. I'm telling you, Philadelphia will be up in flames. It will be that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we get into predictions here, how do you rate your season so far? How do you grade the season for the Knicks? Is it an A? Because my friend gave it like a B minus. I don't know how, but
Ooh, I don't know how you say B minus. So the over under in terms of wins, I think it was like 47 or 46
yeah,
in terms of the betting odds. The way that Mitch, the way that this team has overcome adversity, I think you got to give them an A. Like obviously, if this team, was fully constructed, let's just say they trade for Anunoby, they still have everybody healthy, but they win like 50 games. Okay, that's you could buy that. And you can make an argument they could have won more if Randall was healthy more, so was Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson. But I think you got to like as an unbiased, fan. I know I'm a Knicks fan, and you say, "Oh, you're biased," but no, this is like an unbiased take. Well, the way that the Knicks have went through so much this season with the terms of injuries, and Hartenstein was banged up for a little bit, Jalen Brunson was banged up for a little bit. These guys all have heart. They're all mentally tough. So to act out 50 games with all these injuries is phenomenal. So I think you're going to give them around an, if it's not an A, it's an A minus, or you could say just someone in the A category.
yeah. The reason he gave it a B minus was because of the injuries. He's like really big on that. So if you're not available, he's like he puts that into his critique, and I'm like, dude, did you see how much your team went through this year?
Exactly.
He's like,
Right.
yeah, but the players are still out, still weren't there. I'm like,
No,
fine, there's
it's
no way.
understandable with the injuries, but the Knicks overcame that. They didn't make excuses. They went out and played. And the thing was like Anunoby, yes, he does have an injury docket of injury history. Julius Randle had a freak injury. That doesn't happen that often. He's had two freak injuries in the last two seasons. Mitchell Robinson, obviously a bit of a freak injury. He might have an injury history too. Isaiah Hartenstein, Achilles tendinopathy. They've had to, monitor his Achilles. Jalen Brunson has how many hits does he take? And he doesn't get foul calls, but that's the lesser of the point. But they've dealt with so many injuries, and they've stuck together so much, Mitch, that I think they deserve an A or an A
Yeah, yeah,
minus, whatever you want to call it.
yeah. Now for the Sixers, if I were to have to give them a grade, I would have to go with the A minus as well because you look at what happened when we didn't have Joel Embiid, the dark days. It was
Right,
like 2 months unwatchable. It was so bad we couldn't even enjoy the games. Now that with Embiid is there, we won the last 8 games in a row. So for
right,
me, it's just like you got to give it an A there for me, honestly.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think the Sixers deserve an A. I mean, obviously they fell down to the seventh seed, but there's a very competitive conference. But again, if you're a seventh seed, it doesn't diminish the fact that you could possibly go on a deep run. Again, the Sixers, again, it's possible for both teams to win this series.
Yeah,
Either
this
team, should I
series
say.
is going to be so hard fought. It's going to be physical. I'm telling you, the refs are going to be bad. I mean, with the refs here
They
not getting
suck.
those
They
calls,
suck.
that's going to be a huge factor itself.
Oh, yeah, they suck. They're terrible.
I mean, hey, Maxi doesn't get those calls either sometimes. So it's like
Well,
it's both sides.
there's certain players, Mitch, who get the special treatment. The Trey Youngs of this world, the James Hardens. All you got to do is just throw your arms up in the air and get a call. But
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey's mentioned. You can make all the moves. Could drive in the paint. You could get smacked in the face, no foul. It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. And you see like MB going down low, he flops, he goes up, and he still gets to the line like 15 or 16
Oh
times a
yeah,
game.
absolutely. He throws the arms up. Isaiah Hartenstein mentioned it. He's like he's going to get his free throws. He's going to get to the line. We just have to prevent that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Play discipline on defense.
They gotta let them play, bro. The refs have got
Absolutely.
to let them play now.
Make it
If they
physical.
don't, it's unwatchable,
And it's got to be
unenjoyable.
and Mitch, it's got to be consistent too. You want to let him play, sure. Just got to be consistent both ways. That's all I ask.
Yeah, same here, man. It's just like I mean, we're here. We're talking about the refs. Like,
Yeah,
blame the refs. I mean, like, is that what this game has come to? My friends can't even watch NBA anymore because of how bad the refs are.
yeah. It's ridiculous, and it's like when you are like legit when your name as an NBA ref is around NBA circles so many times, like a Scott Foster or Tony Brothers,
Yeah,
that means you've done something so wrong. That means you've done something so wrong, and you don't want to be notorious as a ref. You don't want fans to know your name almost. And that's it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and then coach goes, Mitch, how much are you throwing it towards the ref? Hey, I never tell. I never tell. Coach got me there. Never tell. Never gives away the secrets. And if the referees call a fair game, the Knicks can win. Well, that goes for either way,
That's
either
true.
side.
It could go either way.
It could go either way. And one thing I noticed about your Knicks team that I
What's that?
haven't noticed in a while? For me, it's just like the chemistry. The chemistry of
Chemistry.
this year for you guys have been insane. Like, it's like a real brotherhood. I haven't
It
seen that
is.
from the outsider in like a long time.
Not at all. Not at all. Again, it's not just the Nova boys, but you're seeing the fun with OG, the fun with Hartenstein. Like these guys, again, amidst the adversity, they're all having fun. That's what I love.
Yeah. I mean, Sixers are having fun too, but when Embiid was out, the big guy, there was no fun there whatsoever. They were just giving up. Like, chemistry is going to become a huge factor, a part of this series, and no one's talking about the chemistry at all.
No, not at all.
For me, it's just like if your chemistry is good and your refs, I mean, not the refs, your coaches are good and they're not
Absolutely.
arguing with the refs because Nick Nurse has been arguing with the refs like nonstop.
Oh, I saw that in the playing game. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the calls were bad too, but you know what? As long as your coach instills the mental toughness in your team and just tells you, "Hey guys, the refs are bad and everything, but you got to lock in. You got to overcome it a little bit."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
that that pep talk from the coach can go a long way.
Yeah. And I don't know if you actually knew this about Bogdanovich and Alec Burks. They offered us for Tobias Harris, and Daryl Morey said no. So,
Really?
yeah, we could have got Bogdanovich and Alec Burks for Tobias Harris, and Daryl Morey said no.
I mean Bogdanovich over. I would definitely take Bogdanovich over Harris.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean,
Beyond crazy. Beyond.
like Burks, I guess you could get as the backup. Again, he's really you put him on the bench. He's not really made to be a starter. But
No.
Bogdanovich, I mean, this guy's a seasoned vet. He's been there, done that. How do you not?
You know what I think it is? I think he just wants the money to walk, and then he wants a Paul George. He wants a Paul George for the Sixers now. And I'm
I
like,
mean, I've seen the rumors. I've seen the rumors
yeah, I would not take Paul George. Not at all. Not one bit. Would you? I doubt it.
on the
No.
Sixers. If I was a Sixers fan, I don't know how that would mesh. Honestly,
It's not just that, it's his health. How long when was the last time he played a full season? When's the last time he got out of the second round?
that's true.
Like, we're stuck. If Tobias Harris walks, he's gonna pick up Paul George. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I could see a trio of that happening.
Yeah. Jalen Brunson scored more points on the Sixers. Well, yeah. Didn't he average like 40 points a game for like the
30
last
something,
bit?
30 something, man.
Oh my god. How come he's not getting his respect that he deserves? I don't get it.
Listen, when you had Brian Windhorst basically saying he's a foul hunter and he uses the dark arts, Brian Windhorst saying that is the epitome of the casual fan saying, "Oh, I don't know jack about Jalen Brunson and I don't care to." It's
Yeah.
not that it's these fans, these media guys, not educating themselves and actually putting themselves to watch the games. Like if you remember back in earlier in the season, the Shaq and Kenny Smith like, oh, the Knicks don't have the best player on the floor. Paulo Banchero is somehow better than Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, which is nonsense.
I mean, that makes no sense to me at
No,
all. And what's kind of funny though? I was watching a stream earlier. They were talking about like the comparison between Tobias Harris and Julius Randle, how they're
right.
like themselves, and how Randle has been always been that guy you can't really trust.
In the playoffs, it's been that way. But you know what? In terms of like Randall's consistency, I think I would take him over Tobias. And he's got 3 All-Star nods, my man.
Yeah,
3. You can't really deny that.
no, you can't. And Tobias is the highest paid player in NBA history without an All Star.
Jeez.
Right?
And let's say this. You guys chose to pay him over Jimmy Butler.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. It was not because of Jimmy Butler.
It
He did
wasn't?
not. Jimmy did not want to play with Ben Simmons. He did not want to play under Brett Brown. Everyone's saying
Okay.
like, oh, it was Jimmy Butler. No, it was Tobias. It was not Tobias Harris. It was Ben Simmons that he wanted out. And
Well,
then
Simmons
he's
is
like,
terrible. So
yeah, it's like the whole that was the crashing down. If we kept Ben Simmons, that if we kept Jimmy Butler, we would have gone to the finals. I'm saying that right now. In that year, that would have been our best chance. The Bucks were injured. Golden State was injured. That was our best chance. But Kawhi Leonard hit a triple doink. That would have been the best year.
yeah, it definitely would have been. I'm just gonna grab a charger real quick.
You're good, bro. You're good. Hey, what is up, Greg? How's it going, man? Guys, make sure you hit that like, hit that sub, especially for Big Blue in the Bronx. They're almost at 2K. Help them get there. And guys, less than 24 hours, I'm going live with Coach Ed Gladney, Amazing World of Sports, for the play-by-play and reaction. So I cannot wait for the game tomorrow. I know this guy is excited for the game as well. Yeah, you're good. You're good, man. You're good. So let's go back in the comments a little bit here until Luca comes back. I like the Philly jerseys. They are fire. I'm not really a fan of the Philly jerseys. I'm being honest. I'm not. They're not really my cup of tea. So, yeah, let's just go back to some of the comments here. Mitch, I feel Sixers fans are the best and the Knicks fans are good, but they don't know how. Hey, that's a little bit of your taste, but I know a lot of Knicks fans that are knowledgeable, that are realistic. Like, I was in this Facebook chat, right? This Facebook group chat with a bunch of Sixers fans. They were predicting sweep. They were predicting they couldn't guard our bench players. I'm like, I can't stand Sixers Facebook. Can't stand Sixers Facebook, man.
All right, I'm back. I'm back.
All good. All good. So, let me have it, man. Let's talk about score predictions for the series. Let me hear it.
Honest opinion, I'm taking the Knicks in 6. I don't think the Sixers are a bad enough team where they get swept. I think Embiid's injury will play a major factor, but I think the Sixers take 2 games, and ultimately the Knicks will win in 6. I think they will advance to the next round.
For me, I got Sixers in 6 because if it goes to 7, there's no way. There is no way we're gonna win that game. The hype is there.
At the Garden,
The
nonetheless.
energy is there. The Garden difficult to play in. I got the Sixers in 6.
Mm,
Got to steal the first game. We have to
absolutely.
win the first game. If you guys win, we're in trouble. Basically it. And then with Nick Nurse knowing how to get to the dance, knowing how to get to the finals and winning it, that does help. But when you're going up against this physical team who's going to throw everything at Joel Embiid, that calls for concern. So, for me.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, any team can win this series, and honestly, any team can. It's not very. It's like again, Sixers have a ton of playoff experience. So do the Knicks. The Knicks aren't this up and coming team anymore. So it's anybody's game. But I think the Knicks come out again, as I said, in 6.
So let's say hypothetically the Knicks do win the series. Who would they play next? Is it like I forget who they play next.
I
I'm drawing
think
a blank.
it's actually the winner of the Bucks Pacers series, if I'm not mistaken. And I
Yeah, I
think
think you're right.
we do. I think we'd have good chances against them too.
I have a hot take. The Pacers are beating the Bucks.
You know what? That's not such a hot take because I got a good buddy of mine. We call him Bad Takes Brian. He's a huge Bucks fan. He
Mhm.
said, honest opinion. He said after he watched, he was with us on the stream on Sunday when the Knicks beat the Bulls. He's like, you know what, dude? We're losing in the first round. We are getting kicked out of the first round. He does not like the way the organization is trending. He doesn't think, they should have fired Adrian Griffin. There's a lot that he didn't like. So he's
Yeah.
essentially like, you know what? We're just lose in the first round. Don't make
The-
it any more, depressing than it already is.
Yeah. Their biggest mistake, uh, firing Budenholzer. I don't
It looks
understand
that
why.
way. It looks that way. I thought that Budenholzer failed to make adjustments a little bit in the Miami series, but over what the Bucks did now, like here's the thing: when they fired Adrian Griffin, when they were one of the best teams in basketball, they took a step back defensively. But the biggest thing is their defense was their biggest drop off, and why their biggest defense was their drop off because you acquired Damian Lillard when you could have honestly kept Drew Holiday, and Holiday was again the Bucks have a defensive acumen. Damian Lillard doesn't fit that. And Drew Holiday's, he just got extended by the Celtics. He fits that defensive acumen. He's an all NBA defender, best guard defender in the NBA. And, he struggled in the playoffs shooting wise, but Damian Lillard has been a black hole defensively, and he can't consistently run the pick and roll. And I know Barbara's saying that Doc Rivers won a championship too. Well, you could thank. He should honestly be thanking Tom Thibodeau for his lucky stars on that one. Tibbs was the defensive, mad scientist for that series. You could also thank Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Rajon Rondo.
Exactly what I've been saying for years, and everyone's like, he's still one. How is he a best coach? Top 10. How? I don't get it.
You can only say the statistics. You can't exactly say, listen, the statistics, obviously would prove Rivers is a winning coach, but when you just watch the games, you watch the lack of adjustments, it would tell you a whole different story. And how many 3-1 leads has this guy blown? Even 3-2 games is 3-2 leads as well. Dating back to last season, how many game 7s has the guy lost? That's another thing.
It's honestly crazy. I witnessed it for a couple years now. He was about to retire after Brett Brown, and we just threw the money at him. Of course, he will take it. And then what happens? He leaves. He goes to the broadcasting team. The Bucks bring him in, and then what does he say? Why'd you hire me? Why'd you hire me?
Because he also thought that getting Griffin fired was the wrong idea. But again, why would you hire Doc Rivers? That basically the entire Bucks community was probably like chanting, "No, no, no," and the Bucks are like, we'll take Doc Rivers, washed up coach.
We'll take it, man. We'll take it. But hey, thank you for coming on the show, man. Just chopping it up about Knicks, Sixers. Let the people know where they can find you, and let them know about the Big Blue Crew as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do some work on Big Blue in the Bronx. My brother is officially Alex Big Blue in the Bronx. As I said, co-host with Big Blue in the Bronx. It says my Twitter is mentioned in my headline. My name is Luca. Boys Big Apple Pod on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. But we are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers on Big Blue in the Bronx. We're doing some Knicks streams for the playoffs. We're doing NFL draft streams. We are doing baseball streams every week with the Yankees. So that's key. Big Blue Crew has been awesome. I've met some of the guys. I've, met Big Pat, all those guys. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really great community to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love those guys, man. And especially all love from the Hardcore Sports Network itself as well. We love those guys over there. Mac is a part of Hardcore Sports and the Big Blue in the Bronx. We got Zion, Adam. We love it, man. Great guys. But yeah, man, thank you all for coming in, tuning in. The game is less than 24 hours, so give me your score prediction for the first game.
I'm gonna go Knicks. I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Really gonna set the tone.
Right.
107-101 Knicks.
I was gonna go 104-101. Sixers.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a close game no matter what. It's gonna be 1-2 possessions.
Yeah, it comes down to defense, man, because we need to score more than 79 points a game.
Yeah, you're not gonna win. This isn't the 1990s where you can somehow get by scoring 79 points.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want to subscribe to Luca and Alex Big Blue in the Bronx, the link is in the description. If you want to subscribe to me and you're on their channel, the link is in my link tree in the description as well. So we'll catch you all later. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. And if you're watching replay, let us know your prediction, man. You got Sixers Knicks. Let us know. And you got anything to say before we head out?
I'd say thank you, Mitch, for letting me come on. Appreciate y'all in the chat. Hit the like button for this man. Hit the subscribe button for this man.
All right, guys. We'll catch you all later. Have a good night and peace.